We're gonna have a Kickturn party tonight. All right!
Hey, everybody! It's Kickturn party. We're back again, and I'm trying to get my mic situation worked out here. And we've got lots of good stuff coming at you.
Coming at you live.
There's Bunny.
Look, it's all four of us.
Yeah,
Whoa,
yeah. Oh,
it's
there
a
we go. There we
miracle.
go. Yeah, yeah.
It's a miracle.
We got JD, we got J-Cab, we got Natbite, and Bunny all in the building at the
That's
same
right.
time.
The OG members.
It's been a while.
It's
but
an
we
OG
got us all
Kickturn
back.
party. So, we got a lot of nothing to talk about today. we didn't plan on anything. But first thing we've got to talk about is we had a little bad news in the Knoxville skateboard community here lately. One of our
Fallen comrade.
Yeah, fallen comrade, one of our OG Ripper guys from way back passed on here recently. And so we wanted to do a little homage to Mr. Jason Wetzel.
AKA the Garden Weasel.
AKA the Garden Weasel. So we got a little video here, but this was a little.
Gene Patterson's Tin Country. This guy went on to be the vice mayor under Victor Ashe.
Oh, was he?
Really?
I didn't know that.
And I have some pretty good Gene Patterson stories.
So this is
That's Wetzel.
Yeah, I cut this down so it's only the Wetzel parts, but this was the unfair. We had a little underground skate park there for a while. There's tiny little Nate.
That was back when we wore painter's hats with the bill flipped up.
There he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jason. So Jason and I were both sponsored by the same skate shop at the time, No Limits, out of Pensacola, Florida, and we hosted a contest at the Unfair.
Right.
With swag that No Limits sent us to give out for that.
Cool.
And my mother actually loaded us up in her 1963 Ford Econoline hippie van and drove us to Gulf Shores, Alabama for the NSA contest in '87.
Right.
Wow.
And which was a weird thing to have an NSA contest at Gulf Shores of all places. But that was actually a really good time. Bucky Lassick was there. He was young. Donnie Griffin and Kevin Lambert.
And there was all the pros there, and you guys got to hang out on the rollout deck.
Yeah, I hung out with Jeff Phillips, who was my all-time favorite skater. Kevin Staub and Joe Johnson, kind of ostracized everybody else. Craig Johnson was a fucking riot, man. That guy was so much fun. It wasn't all the top pros, Tony, Christian, the West Coasters weren't really there.
Right.
It was almost like the B-team pros, but McGill was there because I guess he was kind of local since he was out of Florida. The day before for the AM contest was all of the guys that later became pro, late 80s, early 90s. Like Bucky was there. Bucky was a kid. From Animal Chin fame, Kevin Lambert and Donnie Griffin were both there.
Cool.
Got to push with your arm.
Got to push with your arm.
So the Zorlak team was there. The Sims team was there. A bunch of Vision pros were there. But oddly enough, the Knoxville guys didn't go. Like Brian and Doug.
Yeah, I did go to that.
Wetzel and I were the only ones from Knoxville that went.
I think,
Must have to work.
Yeah, well, I know that Brian and Doug used to go to they usually had an AM contest and the NSA AM contest,
the day before,
and then the next day they would have the pro contest, so they must have not had an AM contest.
Well, and like I said, I was a kid and I had my mom's 35 millimeter Pentax camera wrapped around my neck, so I just walked up to the rollout deck, climbed the stairs.
Because you were a professional photographer.
Because I was a freaking little kid with a camera, but that was also in the '80s when everything was really cool and they let you pretty much get away with anything.
Yeah.
So somewhere exists several rolls of really cool pictures from that whole weekend.
So let's see here. What else we got on? Go ahead.
That was the trip that every night that we went to sleep, Wetzel tried to draw on me with the magic marker. Every night that we were gone. And I'm a light sleeper, and I was a light sleeper then. I'd always wake up, and I'd wake up in the morning, and I'd have squiggly lines on my arms where he was trying to write
maybe it was because we had marketed him up before, and he was trying to be as cool as the older guys.
It was before that.
Okay.
There was a time that right before Access closed, they actually built a skateboard park in Alcoa.
And it wasn't open for maybe 3 or
It
4.
was the little outdoor.
No, this one was indoors.
Oh.
It was called AJ's. It was only open for like 3 or 4 months, but somehow Wetzel showed up at this place in Alcoa. And it's a pretty good Wetzel story, but the lady that owned it was a smoking hot redhead. And Wetzel was just enamored with her. So he was like there every day, and he would skate. This was like
That was back in the black station wagon days.
This was
when
like
we drove that
15,
black
like maybe
station
15 years ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, and he could still skate really good. And then like I said, that place only lasted, 3 or 4 months, and it was gone. And then Wetzel was gone. I never, really saw him again in public. But
Yeah. So, anyways, there's our little tribute to Mr. Wetzel. He used to be a ripper. He was a good
Rest in
man.
peace, man.
Yeah.
All he wanted was to hang out and be a good friend and be a good skater. He was a great guy. So, anyways, going back down memory lane here.
Memories.
Now that I've got
memories.
Mr. Nate here, there's a video that I've been wanting to show for a while. We went to a contest in Raleigh, North Carolina years ago called at the farm ramp.
It was an
And,
annual Halloween deal, and it was the last year that I think they did it.
Yep.
It was Halloween weekend of 1988, and it was when they combined the barn ramp and the farm ramp into one with the crazy angled hip and the three-quarter
And the
pipe.
three-quarter pipe.
That's
Yeah,
it.
this is what I'm looking
Anyway,
for.
this
Okay.
was a really epic weekend. It was Brian and Morris Wainwright's property.
Right.
And both were huge rippers. Brian Wainwright could rip a set of like Crazy 8 roller skates, riding, whatever crazy duck
Surf
food.
style, yeah, yeah.
And then
There he is right there.
Then he would go take his skates off and come out with a skateboard and rip just as hard on a fucking skateboard.
Yeah. And there he is right there. So they had just finished the ramp up.
They wouldn't even let us skate.
They
till
wouldn't let
finished.
anybody skate. So essentially this contest was run pretty raw because no one had any practice.
Wow.
And so this is Brian Wainwright right here on the Crazy Eights and just, ripping. This guy was better on roller skates than most people were on
He
skateboards.
was a world champion.
And it was a huge snake session. I believe that
Wow.
might be Bees Lovelace right there.
Blaze might have been the ultimate ripper of the weekend.
Blaze was ripping.
Rob Taylor was ripping.
Doug Walker was ripping.
What-
Yeah.
We got
Reese Simpson was there?
Reese Simpson and there was a bunch of. This is kind of a mix-up session. This was the practice session with both the sponsor skaters, and then there were a bunch of pros that snaked in there as well, or several pros. Schroder, Reese
Ben
Simpson,
Schroder, that's right.
and Fred Smith maybe. There was a few people there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fred Smith actually had some really good runs too.
Yeah.
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 But this was
Jay Henry ripped that place
Yeah.
too.
This was a ripping contest. Back in the day, you would
Yeah.
go and everybody would camp out next to
Oh,
the
yeah.
ramp, and there would be like only a couple of hundred people there, if that many, and it was
There's
just
Reese.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
Reese, and it was just awesome times, awesome times.
So Knoxville, the contingent from Knoxville loads up in Jay's pickup truck with the camper lid on the back of it, and it was me and Jay and Radham and Batmite and Doug, and before we left town, we stopped at the little gas station on the bottom of the strip and bought a keg.
Bought a keg of beer.
And drove a keg of beer to this contest. And it was the second night, I guess, when the partying really started, and all of a sudden it was like, Knoxville's got a keg.
Yeah, everybody loved us. All the pros loved us. Reese Simpson, President Smith, they were all our best friends all of a sudden, and I'm not sure why, but
Free beer.
yeah, we had a great time, and this was the contest. Unfortunately, Nate went with us. He was a young man. You were what?
I was like 13 or 14.
And we went to. Jay Thomas was ripping that. We went to a.
Well, we got there, and
we
they
got
wouldn't
there,
let us skate
and
because
then
they were still putting
So
fly
we went over
on.
to Wilson, North Carolina,
And
where they
skated
had
the YMCA. It was a sheet metal, 11-foot sheet metal ramp at the Wilson. And man, I got there and it was like, I don't know what it was, but that ramp was fast and easy to ride. And I was doing head high backside airs and over rotated and pretty much landed on my head and my shoulder from about 15 feet.
Yeah.
Broke my helmet in half, cracked the helmet in half.
And you were going to probably be in 1A.
Well, I was going to enter 1A, and hopefully they would let me stay there.
And you probably could have won 2A
Yeah.
pretty easily.
And that ended up putting me in intensive care for a week.
Yeah, me and Brian had to take him to the hospital. Brian
Brian
told,
calls my mom collect from
yeah.
the emergency.
Brian had to. Oh, I'm his big brother. We had to get you in the surgery and everything. And we wound up, with that keg in the back of the truck sitting in the parking lot.
At the
you know,
hospital?
At the hospital.
At the hospital.
And we wound up, like, me and Brian started having wheelchair races, and they finally kicked us out. And then we started skateboarding in the parking lot, and they didn't like that either. And then we got back in the hospital, and we started doing 360s in the wheelchairs. They did not like us at all.
The best was, so Brian calls my mom collect and was like, look, we're on like day 2. We're not coming home for another 3 days. Your kid's broken. What do we do? So my fucking mom jumps in her car, drives across
Her
the
van,
mountain.
her hippie van.
Yeah, her hippie van, drives across the mountain and picks my ass up and lets them stay there and drives me back to Knoxville. So
And the greatest thing about it was, so this contest is going on. Nate's sitting up there on the deck, and he's all pain-pilled up.
Yeah.
And his mom rolls up
So
in the hippie van.
Just a little background is I had a hot mom.
Yeah. His mom rolls up in the hippie van, and she gets out with stacked cork heels, dolphin shorts, and a halter top.
She looked like Farrah
Wang
Fawcett.
chicka wang 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 chicka wang wang. Everybody in the contest immediately stops watching the skating and watches Nate's mom pop out of the van. Where's my son? He's up here. All right. And everybody stopped and watched Nate's mom. Yeah. And so
I was on.
it was great.
I was actually on that rollout deck right there. I think taking pictures or just watching.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. Everybody by the end of the contest, everybody knew who the guys from Knoxville were.
So is that like 14-foot extension, that oververt, or?
Well, the ramp was 11 feet.
Yeah.
So
With the 10-foot transitions, footivert, standard 80s ramp, and that oververt extension had to be upwards of 15.
Okay, I'm going to come in and throw my 2 cents in.
Tell us.
Just,
Preach on.
I am. I'm going to preach.
Get a microphone.
And well, you can hear me. You can hear. Give me your mic.
Hey.
This is why they hate me, because I have to make everything philosophical.
That's not the only reason.
Yeah.
But no, this kind of scene, this kind of energy, this kind of gathering, it doesn't happen much at all anymore.
No.
And that's what is so upsetting to me, maybe, about the advent of the skate park. Because when they first came around, it was like, yes, skate parks, they're everywhere. Everybody's got access. But it also, I think, it killed something.
Well, I think that some of this kind of still goes on. I hear about the amateur contest in Tampa every year, the Tampa Jam.
Yeah.
I hear that's kind of the same vibe.
Right.
But there's a lot of it is the backyard scene. I agree with you 100%. Is missing, because especially at this time it was so much of a smaller scene. This was the entire East Coast. And there's like there's like 100 people there.
Right.
And that was so
That
everybody
was every contingent, like the Atlanta Team Glug was there.
Yeah.
All the Virginia Beach guys were there.
There were guys from up in the Northeast, the
Ohio,
Toxic,
Ohio,
Yeah.
Indiana,
Well, I
North
used to
Carolina,
have people
Tennessee.
coming to the Bunny Ranch from Ohio and
Right.
South Carolina, and people just drive up and knock on the door. So
Yeah.
there's a little bit of that going on still. But,
Right. Yeah, the
I'd like to
backyard
see that
scene,
begin.
it kind of, having skate
Blaize
parks now,
just
it
tore
kind
that place
of
apart.
ruined it up. But those were the good old days.
Was there another little ramp to the side?
Yeah, a little mini house.
Oh,
to the
cool.
side.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
yeah.
So the coolest thing about that far wall that's all one level had this pool coping that was coated with polyurethane.
Oh, wow.
So it was fast as metal, but it did the clack 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 clack, clack when you got on it. And
Right.
Blaize did these crazy frontside Smith grinds and frontside board slides across it, and it made the coolest sound. And of course, for me, that was really crazy to have a concrete coping that moved.
Right,
Because I was
right.
used to concrete coping that you had to push your. You had to go
Right.
fast,
Yeah, that stuff
push
was
hard,
slick. It
and
was
That
good.
stuff was like metal. It was almost like PVC.
Right.
It was so slick.
So there's a little bit of a flashback to what it used to be
The
like when
80s
we
East
had the
Coast
big
contest,
backyard contests. They were so awesome when it was a small contingency. And now things are quite a bit different, just like Bunny was talking about.
If you've ever seen the documentary from the golf course,
In Ohio.
no, the red ramp, Cedar Crest.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Watch the Cedar Crest documentary.
Absolutely.
And it'll give you a really good idea what the vibe was like, and people showing up and like bands playing and just
Right.
local high school kids were like, man, I hear there's a punk rock show at a skateboard ramp on a golf course. Okay.
Exactly.
And,
Exactly.
You know, it was like the backyard that we had in Fort Sanders when the Bone Throne was sitting under the
Oh, and that's a whole nother story. We've got a lot more stories about backyard stuff like that.
The 80s backyard scene was something else. It was a total, like Jason said, it was a totally different attitude, vibe that really doesn't really exist much more these days.
It's. I think it's still there. It's just waiting to come back out. So, anyways,
Let's bring it back.
that's another episode of
Yep.
Kickturn Party. We're gonna come back at you with some more. We've got lots more old school footage and old school magazines and boards to share with you guys. So we'll be back.
More hilarity ensues.
Yeah, exactly. That's Kickturn Party.
Everybody's gonna hang out here tonight. Alright. We'll pass out in the flat. Alright. Tonight. We got nothing better to do than to take 6 runs, drink a dozen brews. Don't talk about it.